but it really advanced our business in a really fast way. Now, fast forward, we were in this company for a while, and we did great. After a while, we rose to the top. We were walking the stage. We were getting recognition. We had lots of offices opened up. We were doing presentations, acquiring customers. We were making money. So everything that you would want to have happen to you in this industry was happening to us, and it was happening for us at a very young age. But then that company ended up going out of business, and we were devastated because the owners of that company, they didn't have any experience in direct sales. They were accountants and business people. They understood business, they understood accounting, but they didn't understand the people side of the business. So they made some decisions that was catastrophic to that company, and it was gone. Like literally, from 1 week, everybody was excited, to the very next week, everybody scattered and they were looking for a new home. And I remember I was trying to figure out whether I was going to stay in the industry or not. I was ready to quit. Tony was ready to quit. But we thought about it after a week later, and we said, you know what? We don't want to quit. We believe in this industry because we knew it worked. We'd experienced success in it, and we actually understood how to do it. So we started looking for different companies that we could be a part of, and that's when we were introduced to our now partners, Greg Provenzano and Robert Stefanowski. We were just introduced to them through a mutual friend. And Robert and Greg had just met each other about 60 to 90 days before we met them. They had met each other. So basically, we were all strangers. But when we met each other, I can't explain why, but we just knew we were supposed to work together. We bonded. Now, we decided to team up. Now, when I say team up, we had no plans of starting our own company, zero. We just wanted to team up to say, hey, listen, we're all in the same place. The same stuff happened to all of us, because Robert was even in the same direct sales company we were in, so he was really in the same place that we were in, and Greg was in a different company, but had a similar experience. So all four of us just said, you know what, let's go out and look at all the companies out there, and we're going to pick one, and we're just going to be major leaders in that company. And we were really confident because all of us knew how to build. We started researching all the direct sales companies that were available in late 1992, and we couldn't find one company that had all the things that we were interested in. But the one thing we were really hoping for was to find a company where the owners actually had experience in direct sales. And at that time, we couldn't find one company that actually had what we were looking for. And that's really when we decided to put together our own company, which is now ACN, right? And I remember, just like yesterday, when we got together, we said, there's two things we asked ourselves. What do we believe in? That was number one. And number two, what were we interested in? Well, first of all, we believed 100% in direct sales. We believed it because we experienced it, we understood it, we knew it worked. It was 100% belief. What we were interested in, though, was doing something different in the marketplace. We wanted to market services instead of products. So at that time, the long distance phone industry had already been deregulated for 8 years in the United States. I don't even think it was deregulated yet in Canada, but it was already deregulated for 8 years, and everybody was choosing a company, and that was the first service that we ended up marketing. And I remember that the conversation of deregulation at that time was advertised as it was going to spread into other industries. So we said, listen, let's get into the service industry. Let's market services because you can earn residual income. Let's bring that together with direct sales. It will be very unique in the industry. No one else is doing it. And as other services come available through deregulation and even international, we're going to expand with it. And that's really the ACN story, guys, in a nutshell. And we've never looked back. And one of the things that really get us excited is when we see people go from getting started, where they don't even know if they can be successful in this business, going all the way to the top and becoming a senior vice president in ACN. And we see people's lives change all the time. And I don't care who you are in this business. You stick around long enough and you work hard enough, and when you achieve a certain level of success, I call it getting on the other side of that money train. And when you get on the other side, it's not that money is the most important thing. I want you guys got to be clear on that. Money is only important when you don't have it, okay? That's a fact. When you're broke, that's when it's important. But when you get on the other side, believe me, there's a lot of other things that are more important in your life that you'll have options and availability to focus on. But when you're getting started and someone doesn't have good finances and they get in a business like this, yeah, in the beginning they're stressed out. But when you get on that other side, when the residual income kicks in and you experience that life change where you actually have time and money, I'm telling you guys, you're going to want to help other people accomplish that same lifestyle. And that's really what it's about for us, hearing all these stories of people going from just hoping it could happen for them to crossing over to the other side, becoming successful, becoming financially independent, and we're watching people's lives literally transform. That's what motivates us when we do this business. It's about the people. Now, again, You look at a product or you look at a service, and you know what, that's great, and that's what makes the opportunity work. But the thing that motivates us is the people side of the business. And I wanted to share that with you because what I'm going to train you on is I want to talk to you guys about how to create momentum. And all of you in this room, oops, did I go too far? Yeah. All of you in this room, you know, obviously know we acquire customers, right? But what can you do to position yourself to succeed the most? How can you succeed the most in this business? And how you succeed the most is by building a team. Because look around the room for one quick second. Look around. See how many people are sitting in here? I want you to imagine something for a minute. I want you to imagine that every single person in this room is on your team. They're not somebody else. It's all your team. Look around the room. How many of you would be pretty excited knowing that tomorrow morning, whether you slept in or not, you had an army of people out there getting customers and introducing other people to the business? Would that excite you?
Yeah.
Okay. So that is what we call leverage. Okay, that's leverage. So in our business, if you want to be in that position, you know, we always talk about creating momentum, and then there's maintaining momentum, and then there's advancing momentum. A lot of people only create momentum when they first get started. And you know why? It's because they have no choice. They don't have a business yet. They have to create. But a lot of times when people get to a certain level, they stop creating new business. They just fall into what I call maintaining mode, where they just want to manage their teams and they don't really focus on growing. And you know, and if they don't do that, then they're never going to advance their business. They're just going to plateau and they're going to stay the same. But to me, I learned early on that you got to be in creating momentum mindset all the time. Now, not for the rest of your life, but how big do you want your business to be? And this is one of the simplest things that I can talk about. And I tend to reduce things to the ridiculous because in my mind, if it's not simple, like if I don't see it as simple, then I can't do it. Do you guys agree with that statement? So we have to look at the big picture sometime and just reduce the activity to something ridiculous and keep it stupid simple. And if you can do that, then you can create momentum anytime, any place, anywhere you want, right? So that's going to be my topic. But it's called Mastering the Art of Building in Your Open Line. Now, a lot of people don't know what the word open line means. Whatever position you achieve in ACN, whether you're an ETL, whether you are a regional coordinator, RC, regional director, or higher, open line means whatever position you're in, you want to look at how many new people are joining your team, right? Not under another person that's at the same level as you. So let's say you're a regional director, and somewhere on your 10th level you have a regional director. We're not going to look at their production. See, if you're in creation mode, you only look at what's in your open line, not under another RD within your organization. Does that make sense to you guys? Same if you're an ETL or an RC. Creating momentum means that you are focused on building in your open line, and everything else will take care of itself. But if you don't build in your open line, then you are no longer creating momentum. So in this business, the longer you can focus on open line and create momentum, the better off you're going to be. Now, there's a couple things you have to do if you want to be successful at this. The first thing you have to do is learn how to present the ACN opportunity. Okay? Now, believe it or not, the key to presenting this opportunity to anyone is you got to take it out of your mind that you're selling it. You just have to see yourself as a servant. Your job is to simply explain it to people, and that's it. And a lot of people said, okay. And a lot of times people say, well, I don't know. I try to explain it, but then I find myself selling it, and then I get a bad result. Okay, it's normal. One of my mentors taught me, he says, Mike, you've got to get your mindset when you're explaining an opportunity to someone. You have to get to the mindset where you're actually explaining it. So he says, just use the word explain in front of each topic. So I'm talking about ACN. I'll just say, look, let me explain to you why I think ACN is a good company. If I'm going to talk about the products, let me explain to you all the different services that you can market with ACN and why it's great. You know, if you want to talk about the market advantage, let me explain to you guys why ACN is perfect position in the market. Use the word explain, because when you're explaining something to someone, whether they like it or not does not matter. That's irrelevant. Does that make sense to you guys? It's irrelevant. I don't care if you're talking to your friend. I don't care if you're talking to a stranger through one of your friends. It's irrelevant whether they like it or not. Okay? The only thing your job is to do is to serve that person by saying, I'm here just to simply explain it. If you like it, great. If you don't, it's no big deal. How many of you could do that? So you want to learn the presentation as quickly as you possibly can. Now, I heard some people do the testimonials on stage where they were told that, you know, in your first 30 days or 60 days, you should only invite and let the experts present, and I agree with that. So if you look at the bottom here, it says new IBOs should only invite. Why? Because if you're brand new and you're not involved in ACN yet, a lot of the people you may invite to look at this business, they know you're just getting started. They're not going to look at you like the expert, right? So if you try to explain it, you know who's going to challenge you the most in this business? Your peers. The people that are your friends, that you're considered your equals, they will challenge you the most because they know that you're just getting started. And it's human nature sometimes to challenge your friends. So the reason why we say new IBOs should only invite, if you're lucky enough to have an upline that will explain the business for you, you take maybe first 30 days, maybe first 60 days, and just be a master at inviting people to look at the business. Just invite, and just be a person that connects, I would say a set of eyes onto the opportunity. You invite, let somebody else explain, let that person decide. Just like you heard earlier, that system works. But when should you learn to present the opportunity? Whenever you want. Don't think that, people may say, oh, when you're a regional director, that's when you can start presenting. No. You present whenever you want. Yeah. You might be terrible at it. You might stink, but so what? At some point, you've got to start. So learn the presentation and just get out there and do one-on-ones and practice, because if you can master the presentation by simply explaining it and you do it like within 15, 20 minutes, guess what? You are now in 100% control of your business. You can build it anywhere, any place, anytime, because you're not dependent on someone else. So if you want to be good at creating momentum, the first thing you need to do is learn how to present the opportunity. You also want to learn how to get people started, and you want to be able to train them how to get started. Now, I know that when we think about training, some people might say, wow, I don't know if I could train someone, how to do the business. If you take the time to learn how to qualify for ETL and what you need to do to become an ETL, believe it or not, that's all you got to train somebody. That's all you got to focus on. Now you can let them know there's higher positions and you can build a vision for what someone can create, but can you imagine if every single person who signed up in your business hit ETL and they did it within the first 30 days, how would you be doing in your business? Awesome. Become a master at training people how to become an ETL. And again, how do you do that? You keep it simple and you explain to people what their job is. Here's what you want to do. Let me explain to you what your first step is. Let me explain to you what your second step is. I'm telling you guys, anyone can train. And I'll tell you, it's easier to train, believe it or not, than it is to present. I talked about this last night at the leadership. It's easier because I talk about the home court advantage, right? If the Detroit Pistons basketball team was playing in Chicago against the Bulls, right? The Bulls would have the home court advantage. And vice versa, if the Bulls were playing in the Pistons stadium, then the Pistons would have the home court advantage. In our business, when we're inviting someone to look at ACM for the very, very first time, they kind of have the home court advantage because we want to show enough value in this business where they're going to be interested. But when somebody says, okay, I like it, and then they come to the training, you got the home court advantage now because you're leaning forward saying, they want to learn this information, they're excited, and it's easier to train sometimes than it is to present. So if you can present, you master that, then the training is a joke. It's easy because you have the home court advantage. You also want to understand sorting. So if you want to be great at creating momentum, you've got to understand sorting. Now, it's the first thing taught. Most of us are going to learn about sorting in our very first basic training. It's the first thing taught, but it's the hardest thing to learn. And you know why? It's because human nature always gets in the way. No one in the room likes to have one of their friends say no to them on becoming a customer. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Right? And no one in this room would be happy about someone telling them that they're not interested in the business. So rejection is something that none of us want to have in our life, but sorting means you have to have the attitude that you don't care whether somebody likes it or not. You don't care whether somebody becomes a customer or not, because the only way you're going to have true power in this business is by having the right attitude. Every business in the world that wants to grow has to deal with the yes, the no's, and the maybes. That's just the way the business works. So you've got to really understand that sorting is the key to the business. It's not selling, it's sorting. So when sorting, your only job is to separate the interested people from the people that are not interested. That's it. Think about that as a job. That's not hard to figure out. How many of you, after you were done presenting ACN for the very first time to someone, could probably figure out right away whether somebody was interested or not, right? Okay, your job is not to argue with someone. Your job is not to debate someone. Your job is not to convince someone, and your job is not to try to change someone's mind. If they say yes, great. If they say I want more information, great. If they say they're not interested, thank you very much for listening. I really appreciate it. Sorting is the key to the business, because the number one reason why people fail in our industry is because they can't let it go. They can't accept that maybe their friend isn't interested in the business. But let me tell you why this happens. Successful IBOs, the ones that are really good at creating momentum, understand that it's timing, okay, not talent, that will determine whether you can grow your business. It's not how talented you are. It's whether you approach somebody at the right time. You can't say the right thing to the wrong person. You can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Let me just give you an example. Let's say you approach someone, could be a friend, could be a family member, or just acquaintance, someone you know, and you ask them if they're interested in making money outside of what they're doing right now. And just imagine yesterday, they just got a job promotion, they got recognized in front of their peers, and they got a pay increase. What are the chances of that person, no matter how good or bad your presentation was, or no matter how good or bad you think the opportunity in ACN is, what are the chances of that person not being interested in pursuing it because of what just happened yesterday? Does that make sense? Now you take the same scenario where somebody did not get a promotion, but their boss got a promotion based on everything that they did. And what really humiliated that person was their boss did not give them any credit, and they realized they got scammed by their own boss, right? That means their boss got a pay raise, they didn't get a pay raise, and now they're frustrated. They're actually so frustrated that they don't even want to be at that career anymore, right? And now all of a sudden you approach them and say, hey, are you open to making some extra money? I'd like to sit down and show you something. And they sit down with you. What are the chances of that person looking at the business? And it's very high. So if you hit somebody at the right time, they're going to be interested. If you hit somebody at the wrong time, they're not going to be interested. Don't beat yourself up. Don't worry about whether you think you did a good presentation or a bad presentation. It's not you, it's timing. And I'll tell you this, I've seen people do the worst presentation. I mean, how many of you have ever seen somebody do a presentation on ACN? It was so bad, it was creating cringe moments. Like you're going, it's cringy, right? Because it's just terrible. And then the person that they actually presented to still signed up. How'd that happen, right? Or how many of you have seen somebody do a presentation like it was an art form? They did such a good presentation, it was the best you've ever seen, you almost had an out-of-body experience going, I can't believe. And then the person they're explaining the business to wants nothing to do with it. Yeah. So it's not the talent of the person that's presenting, it's the timing of the person that you get. Does that make sense to you guys? Yeah. Okay, understanding this, believe it or not, will catapult your success. The inability to sort is the number one reason why people don't grow in this business. They just can't let it go. You have to move on, and you have to be a great sorter. Okay. Also, focus on warm market. It is the most effective way to build your business. There's two types of warm market. There's yours and there's someone else's. Now, you guys know the difference between warm market and cold market, right? Yeah. Now, believe it or not, I'm not telling you that you can't build with cold market. There is a way to build with cold market if you focus on warm market. I know that sounds strange, but I'll explain in a minute. Okay, now if you're taught properly in the business, you're taught that if you're a new IBO, right, you're brand new, your job is to put your warm market, people you know, in front of someone we would call an expert. And the reason you do this is you can edify or build up the credibility of that third-party person. Just say, here's why you want to listen to this person. It's not complicated. But between you and your contacts, when you first start, there's a trust level. There's an element of trust, But by putting your people in front of an expert, there's a little respect, because it's easier to respect a stranger sometimes that you don't know their background than it is to respect a peer that they know you're just getting started. Does that make sense to you guys? So in that combination, if you can combine trust and respect in a presentation, you get the highest level of results in this business, especially when you're in that motion of creating a business. Now I want to show you something. Because I want to give you a visual, but the visual I'm going to show you is, believe it or not, is like the simplicity of how to build and create momentum. Now, a leader's job, okay, what does a leader focus on? And like, what would I be focusing on, for example, if I was in ACN and I was sitting with you guys and I was an IBO and I wanted to build? A leader wants to get as many people in front of the opportunities they possibly can. I call it eyes on the business. We don't worry about who says yes, and we don't worry about who says no. I just want to get a lot of people exposed to the opportunity. I want them to look at the opportunity, and I'm going to focus on, getting people interested in the opportunity. So how do I do that is you ask people who they know. So every single month, you got to set a goal. And this is how you know that you are in what I call creating mode. You want to set a goal. So let's say you're an RD, just for example. You're a regional director. You could be an RC, it doesn't matter, but let's say you're a regional director. And you say, okay, I'm in creative mode. That means I personally want to be responsible for getting 20 new IBOs in the business this month in my RD Open. Not depending on my upline, not depending on maybe another leader on my team. I want to be responsible for that. That's because I'm going to be in creation mode. So how do you get 20 open line CQs in your business every 30 days in your open line? Well, the one way you shouldn't do it, I'll tell you 2 ways it doesn't work. First way it doesn't work is you trying to recruit 20 people yourself. It's not going to work. The second way you shouldn't do it is recruit one person and try to get that one person to recruit 20 people. That's not going to work. There's a better way. So let's say this is you at the top. Let's say you identify now as an expert and you are out there prospecting and you're introducing people to the business. And because you're a leader, you want to be responsible for growth. So again, as I said earlier, it's just about getting people to look at the business. Don't worry about who says yes or no. But in this example, let's say you just met somebody, could be at a fitness center, and the conversation came up. What do you do? Oh, well, listen, I'm expanding a business in this area. Are you open to looking at things outside of what you do? And they go, yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. Matter of fact, Matthew, we came over in an Uber, and believe it or not, Matthew asked that question to the driver, and he got the guy's number. He says, absolutely, he's looking for something. So that tells me he's in creation mode. Even though he's here, he could have just got out of the car, right? But instead, he was in creation mode. He asked the guy, and now he's going to schedule an appointment to explain the business. But take that example. You've got someone here, they looked at the business, they're excited about what they looked at, but they didn't sign up yet, right? The fastest way to build your business is understanding that every person that you show this opportunity to could probably invite up to 3 people to look at it with no recruiting skills whatsoever. And I'll give you an example of that. When I got started in network marketing, I went to my very first presentation. The guy who was presenting told me, he says, Mike, he goes, don't try to present this to anyone. We have a meeting next Thursday, just bring your contacts there. I go, no problem. I was on the phone, I called my brother, I explained the business. I called my friend John, I explained the business. I called my friend Dan, I explained the business. I did everything wrong, said everything wrong, but guess what? All 3 of them ended up at the next meeting with me because we have certain friends or certain family members that will at least go just to support you. And I remember saying, look, just look at it, just do me a favor. And they ended up coming there and looking at it, and I didn't have any recruiting skills. I didn't do anything right. But I got 3 people to the very first meeting. But believe it or not, the average person out there could probably invite 1, 2, or 3 people to look at this opportunity with no recruiting skills whatsoever. So we want to take advantage of that. We want to leverage that. Because of that, I'm going to ask this person who they know. And they might lead me to 3 people. Now, what is my job? My job is to present to those 3 people because I just want their eyes on the business. Some might say yes, some might say no, some might say maybe, I don't care. But I want them looking at the business. And I'm not going to look at these people as the second level. I'm going to look at them no different than the person that I introduced at first. I'm going to say, who do you guys know? This person might say, I know 2 people. This person says, well, I know 2 people. And this last person says, I know 1. Okay, great. Because I know how to present, whether I put them on a Zoom at one time or I do it in separate Zooms, whatever, I want them looking at the business. I don't care who signed up yet. I just want to expose the business to as many people as I can because I'm a leader and I'm looking to create momentum. So what am I going to do with these people? I'm not going to treat them like they're a 3rd level. I'm going to treat them like the same person that I got up here. I said, who do you guys know? This person knows 1 who surprisingly brought a friend. It was kind of like a gift. This person knows 2 people. This person knows 1. This person knows 2. What do I want these people to do? Look at the business. This is how you create. Now, I'm going to continue this on. This person gets 2, this one gets 1, this one gets 2. I get them to look at the business. But here's what I wanted to show you. By looking at this example, there's 20 people right there. But not 1 person in here, except for the first person, invited 3 people. Everyone else invited 2 or 1. This is what you do when you master the art of creating momentum. Now, I'm not worried about who's signed up. I'm just worried about getting as many people as I can in front of the information. Because just naturally and organically, there's going to be an excitement that's going to happen. It's going to be like a fire that builds from the bottom. And all of a sudden, people are just going to be excited because people are getting involved in a business. Now, all we did, remember, is getting a lot of people to look at the business, but the sign-up part of it will just happen automatically. Look, when creating momentum, you've got to understand that experienced leaders and new people kind of identify momentum a little differently just through their experience. An experienced leader actually looks at the number of CQs in their open line every single month. They're actually looking at that number. Maybe this month was 5, they want to grow it to 10, they want to grow it to 20, but they want to get really good at having these numbers down. Where a brand new person, they just look at the number of people looking at the business. For example, I remember my first meeting that I ever did, our first PBR, my brother and I did, we invited about 30 people to our house. Kind of like the doctor did. Where's the doctor? There he did. So he had 40 people. You beat us. Actually, you really beat us because it was Tony and I inviting together. But we had about 30 people at our very first meeting, and only one person's committed to signing up. But we had 30 people looking at it. All we could talk about all night was, I can't believe how big this is. I can't believe how fast this is growing. Well, what's growing? We had one person say they were going to sign up, and no one else did. Right? But in our mind, it was the visual of seeing all these people and the excitement and the energy. And you know what it did? It got us excited. So I never forget that feeling. So me as a leader, when I started developing teams, I said, okay, my job is to create that energy for that person. So I'm here to help them present the business to as many people as they possibly can, give them that same feeling, and you know what's going to happen? It's going to catch fire at the bottom and it's going to burn all the way up. And by the way, what I'm showing you, Al, I'm going to use it. Can I use you as an example, Al? Okay, I can't remember, Al Essentio, I can't remember if you were an RVP when we had this conversation or you were on your way to RVP. I can't remember this, but he called me once and you were kind of stuck. You were kind of in that maintaining mode. And he called me, he says, hey, just give me some advice. I got to get some things going again in Toronto. And we had a conversation exactly covering what I'm covering right here. No different. I said, you just got to get back in creation mode. And it's easy to fall out of creation mode. It really is. And I go, that's all you're doing. Just get back to the basics, get back into creation mode. And this was a pretty long time ago because we ended up opening up Spain, and you and your family are from Spain. Is that right? So were you born in Spain? Okay, your parents were born in Spain. His parents were born in Spain. So we've got a lot of family, cousins there. And I remember we were doing the actual launch of Spain. And Al called me up and said, hey, you're not going to believe this. I'm here in Barcelona. I go, really? He goes, I'm on my way. And he goes, I want to grab breakfast with you tomorrow with my cousin. My cousin's a chef, if I remember correctly. Because my cousin's a chef, and I want him to look at the business. I go, perfect. Now, the next day, I call him up. I go, hey, listen, I'm ready for breakfast? He says, no. He goes, we don't have to do breakfast. I go, why? He goes, my cousin already told me he's not interested in the business. He's not going to do it. I go, okay, no problem. I go, do you want to meet up? He goes, well, I'm going to be with my cousin. I go, why is your cousin coming? He goes, well, he's just coming to look at what I'm doing. And that's how I remember it. So I go, well, you know what? Who cares? Let's just have breakfast. We don't have to talk about ACN. And that's exactly what we did. We had breakfast. His cousin was there. He was telling me about what he does for a living. And then he ended up coming to the event. He sat through the event. And after the event was over, I still remember you calling me up and I go, hey, where are you, Al? He goes, you're not going to believe this. He is jacked out of his mind. He wants to sign up. And he goes, we have to go back to his house right now. I think about an hour north of Barcelona or something he lived. And he said, he's jacked out of his mind. He's got a list of people for you to talk to. So what he ended up doing was, on the way to his cousin's house, his cousin called like maybe 2 or 3 people and scheduled him to do some one-on-one presentations either that evening or the next day. Tell me if I say anything wrong here, because I'm telling you how I remember it. And then the next day, those people said, we've got some contacts too. He ended up doing more meetings that day and that night, which led to some more presentations the following day and the following day. You called me up the very next week and you said, you're not going to believe this. I go, what? You said, before I was going to leave Spain, he goes, I couldn't just leave him hanging. I had to do a training. So we basically presented the opportunity to a bunch of people throughout the week. And he said we had about 30 people at his house, and you did a training, and it was on a Saturday, and they actually did a training. And I remember you calling me and saying, you're not going to believe this. I go, what? Because you remember that conversation we had about, how to create momentum? I go, yeah. He goes, we signed up 20 people 5 days later. And he goes, it hit me. He goes, if I could do that in 5 days, what can I do in every month when I go back to Toronto? You remember that? And that's when it really hit him how to create business, because when you're in creation mode and you're getting caught up with the excitement yourself, you don't even realize what you're doing. All you're doing is helping everybody. Yeah, I'm here to present. Let me show you the business. I'm here to present. Let me show you the business. Hey, come to a training. And you're not focused on who says yes and who says no. You're serving the group. You're serving them because you're a leader. I'm here to help. I'm here to support. I'm here to get you to the next step. And all of a sudden, momentum just starts burning, right? So I always tell people, look, if you want to be good at creating momentum, ask yourself a couple questions. How many people have you introduced to the business in the last 30 days? But of the people you introduced, how many of these people have you tapped into their network, into their warm market, by saying, who do you know? Who do you know? Who do you know? Are you working in layers within your organization, or are you only working with the person that you recruited? Because if you only work with the person you recruited, you're going to get nowhere. It's going to stop right there. You have to be able to dig deep, because sometimes your best leaders, the ones that are going to be the most hungry, the ones that are going to be most passionate and the biggest producers, might be on your third level or fourth level. I found that most people have their biggest success stories through strangers that they meet through people they know. Because would you guys agree that we all know people that know people we don't know? Common sense, right? We know people that know people that we don't know. And you'll find that a lot of times your best people will be through the people you know, but won't be the people you know. Because it's timing. And you never know who's ready and who's hungry and who's going to make the thing happen. So obviously you want to sort. You want to promote the ACN system. What is the ACN system, guys? You know what it is. It's right here. Of course, everyone's going to see a presentation for the very first time, right? And it doesn't matter whether it's the person you're presenting to or you're driving a new organization, right? We eventually want to get them to a basic training, which goes to a Zoom training, which goes to a leadership regional event like this one, an Elevate event. So that's the process that we want to get everybody through. Let's not try to teach someone every single aspect of the business in their first 24 hours. Let's just get them to understand the concept. The next step, just get them to understand how to become an ETL, and let's support them. Let them learn why you're going through the process, and they're going to actually be better trained than just you telling them what to expect or what's going to happen. By going through the process, it's the experience that will educate people, and that's what you want people to go through as quick as possible. But that's the ACN system, guys. I always say that, look, in the end, leaders make things happen. You know, I always felt that was my responsibility. When I was in the field, I said that was my responsibility. If I moved to a city like Atlanta or I moved to a city like Los Angeles to build the business, it was my responsibility to get the first person interested. It was my responsibility to help them introduce ACN to the people they knew, and I would continue building that organization. And you really have to have the attitude that you don't care who says yes or no. You just have to be focused 100%. Guys, 100% on serving the people that you're working with. And guess what? For some of these people, the timing is going to be perfect, and for some people, it's not. Okay, guys, that really concludes my training. Actually, I went too far, I think. That concludes my training. I hope what I said made sense. You know, and like I said, I don't usually do trainings. You know, most of the time I just talk about ACN and we just talk about the history. But I really